Filming! We're filming! Quiet on the set! Quiet on the set!
3NN Wednesday edition, take one.
Quiet on the set!
5, 4, 3.
Welcome everybody to 3NN Podcast. My name is Nick Tesla, his name is
Brian McFadden.
and we're here to have a great time and really trying to crack your mind wide open like an egg on a Saturday morning, right? Hey,
Or a Wednesday night.
I think we're going to have a great show here today. This is actually our first Wednesday night show, so thank you for joining us for Wednesday edition part 1 or episode 8 if you've been following us from the get-go. We're really getting there, man. We're getting there, episode
Dude,
8.
we're almost to double digits.
Oh my God, can you believe it? I really do look forward to the day when we hit our 50 milestone and our
That would
100
be
milestone.
nice.
I also look forward to the day when we hit our, we literally this week actually hit our 50, actually last week we hit our 50 like milestone on Facebook. Woo, 50 likes, woo.
We're getting there.
It's like, yeah, I can't wait to hit our...
Share it with your friends.
Yes,
Tell
please do
everybody,
share.
please.
Honestly, please do share. That would really mean a lot to us. That would really, I think that would help us immensely.
You never know who might tune in and see something that or hear something that catches their attention that they
Yeah.
never thought of, and they'll.
Well, all we can ask is if you think it's a quality show, and I don't want to say if you agree with anything we say, but if you like anything that we say, and you feel like there might be other people out there that you know may be interested in it, or you know every time you're around them they're talking about some deep stuff, you know what I'm saying? That forward it on to them, you know what I'm saying, or forward it on to some of your friends or anything like that, or into a group or on a page that you think would be interested in it. I don't know, like just put us out there. You know what I'm saying? Put us out there.
Yep.
You know, I believe in the product, Brian. I believe in the product.
We're doing this for you.
Yeah, we are. We're doing this for every single one of you.
Even the ones that aren't watching, we're doing it for you too.
Do you want to know, honestly, though, and aside from all joking aside, I guess you could say, who I really do this for? I do this for my own grandchildren and children. You know, my own children, but with my own children, I'll have the opportunity to impart knowledge on them, try and raise them to be good, respectable people, good human beings. You know, morally good human beings. I can do that. I'll have the opportunity to do that. I feel I'll have the opportunity to do that with my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren, especially my great-grandchildren. I won't really have that opportunity to do that, and I like that there's a possibility. I don't even know. Everything could go away. All the stuff stored on the internet could go away, but if it's there 30, 40, 50, 60 years from now, I like the idea of thinking that my grandchildren can actually look at me and see me in action, whereas like I look at anything of my great-grandfather and it's always just an old picture. Yeah. They can see me moving and interacting and living my life, but they can also see what I believed and what I thought was right, what I was actually passionate about, I guess you could say. What I was passionate enough about that I put my thoughts and my feelings about it into a video, or not into just a video, into a show that I wanted to share with the world, and tried to put together in a presentable fashion so that the world might actually want to watch. You know what I'm saying? So I feel I do it for my grandchildren, but I do it for everybody's grandchildren. I do it for everybody's children. I do it for everybody else. Even like there's like sometimes I don't know. There's evil people out there. I'm still even doing it for the evil.
That's
people.
what I meant when I said we do it for the people,
Yeah,
even the people that aren't watching us,
Yeah.
because who knows, it may affect them in a way.
Yeah, And I don't
somebody
know,
who's
honestly.
watching, who has influence.
I think a lot of people see people who do a podcast and they tend to think that somebody does a podcast or somebody doing their own show or something like that. And I've had this thought before myself, and I honestly think it's a wrong thought, and I need to reevaluate ever having those thoughts. Is when you think about somebody who does a podcast or has their own show or own radio show or anything like that, when you think about somebody like that, you tend to think that they're egotistical or that they're full of themselves and they're only doing it for their own fame. They're only doing it to get their own name out there and to become successful, to make themselves money, or to make their name a household name and this and that. And it's like, I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting that, but I think when that's your sole driving factor of why you're doing it,
kinda shallow.
even like, I think what's sad is that people succeed trying to do that. They do succeed. A lot of people do
Yeah.
it, and that's their reasoning behind it, and it's not successful whatsoever, and they eventually give up. But there's some people that succeed doing it because there's something genuinely funny or unique about them or interesting about them, and they never quite really understand what the problem is with them. You know what I'm saying? They never really quite understand.
Why they're perceived as a D-bag in public?
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of lost track of what I was thinking.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah, it does happen. You know, Wednesday night I had a long night at work. You know, it's tough sometimes. It's not all here. So what was I saying? I can bring it back if I can remember what I was just saying. This is ADD, folks. This is somebody who's not afraid to admit that, and this is also ADD plus just a little bit of weed. It's not like I'm so high right now. No, I'm not. Like, it's more of like a medicine thing. Almost when you take medicine and you're a little bit drowsy, but you're not like, I just need to go to sleep right now. No, you're just a little bit drowsy. ADD and weed is good for ADD sometimes, but it can also drive your mind off track sometimes, which your mind's already off track.
Yeah.
Like when it starts, you know what I'm saying? So if your mind's already off track and then you smoke some weed, your mind can just get even worse off track, and you can just literally be in the middle of saying something, in the middle of having a comprehensive thought, and
Poof.
completely, it's
You're on something
literally,
else.
it literally just floated away into the ether. But then you can also get it back. It's not like it floated away and it's like it's out of reach. It's still there. It's just not like right on the tip of things where it was for a second. You know, a cloud of
What
smoke.
you were discussing is people who do things similar to this with the main goal of becoming famous and rich and such.
Yeah, yeah. And the sad part is that people, hopefully I can finish my thought this time, is that people who do that is they end up like getting successful doing it, but they end up with such an ego as well, and such a like better than everybody else feeling, and they never feel like they're doing it for their fans, even though they'll say it over and over again. I do this for you. I love my fans. You know what I'm saying? It's like they're more doing it for their own satisfaction and their own gratitude, and to know that they're building their own brand of themselves. You
I
know what I'm saying?
actually
It's like,
used to have a nickname for those kind of people. I call it Axl Rose syndrome.
that's great. You can call it a lot of people syndrome. There's a lot
Yeah.
of people like that.
But he was always a prime example of that.
Well,
in the
it's like
public
it's
eye.
like Bono. You know?
Yeah, Bono's another
Yeah,
great
yeah.
one. Bono syndrome.
Like people want to build their brand, but I really respect when somebody isn't trying to build their own brand. They're more trying to build constructive things for society. You know what I'm saying? Build something constructive for society where you're talking about some issues that maybe the people that are they're trying to talk about their own stuff, they're not going to genuinely, or they're trying to talk about themselves, or they're trying to do it for themselves. They're not going to genuinely give you exactly what needs to be said. I don't say what needs to be said because everybody's going to say something different, but they're not going to give you real, honest opinion on something. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to give you an honest, good opinion on something. They're more interested in how they feel and they know they're right. Whereas with our show, like, we can talk about stuff and look at things from all perspectives and be honest and really look at it objectively. You know what I'm saying? Whereas another show or somebody who's just egotistical doesn't want to look at something as objective.
No, it's
So-
their point of view. You're either with them or against them.
All right, yeah, I'm gonna. I don't know. I feel like we've been waving the 3NN flag, like we are the shit. We are the shit. We are the show. I feel like we've been doing that for the last, so between this show and last show. So we'll definitely get off our own high horses. We're not on high horses. We don't think we're better than anybody else. I think we've realized we have a quality show, and we want people to share it. We want people to help us put it out there, because we're starting off from scratch. We really
Yeah,
like
we
the
really
budget.
could use your help.
I don't know if you've noticed, but the budget for the show isn't really large. Or let's just say
It doesn't
not
exist?
small. Exactly, non-existent is probably.
Yeah, we don't exactly have a budget for the show.
And eventually, I really like
We work on donations and second-hand equipment.
and whatever money is available after paychecks are cashed and bills are paid and food is eaten and stuff like that. Like sometimes there might be $20 or $30 to put towards it. So
Sometimes it might be 20 cents.
well, it's also we both work hard, so that also means that it's not like it's an immediate thing. But as we both continue to work hard, it does lead to us making more money and being able to eventually put more money into the show and advertise more and stuff like that. But before we can get to that point, it would really be awesome if anybody out there that
Please
I
advertise
want to say if you
for
truly
us.
care about us or truly care about the show, but if anybody out there that wants to do a solid for somebody who maybe might have done a solid for them, even if it was a small solid, or maybe might have done a solid for them. If there's anybody out there that would love to do a solid for us or for the show, if you want to share it with any of your friends or any of your family or on your Facebook page or anything like that, that would be super awesome. So
We would really
thank-
appreciate that.
past
We
that,
thank you
I
very
think
much.
we'll stop tooting our own horns and hope for the best. You know, I'll do what I can for marketing. You know, marketing us to the public. All right. So, what were we going to get into today?
We're going to get into helping homeless people
Okay.
and how the public is being forced to perceive it.
I don't know if it's how the public. I don't know if I want to exactly go that direction. I know exactly what you're saying and how it's almost taboo.
Forbidden
It's
in
almost
some cities.
It's, yeah, exactly. It's literally forbidden by
It's
law. but
illegal.
It's like
They
it's
pass
become
laws
almost,
against helping the homeless.
It's almost become taboo to help the homeless, and anybody who does it is shamed or literally arrested because they're breaking the law. But where are we? Where are we as not just the human race? Where are we as the American citizen, the average American citizen?
Yeah.
Where are we that these people, we almost refuse to help them? I know I don't want to say nobody helps them. There's zero people helping them because there's lots of people out there who really do want to help the homeless, but there's not enough.
Well, I'll say the reason that I wanted to talk about this issue on the show is an article I read recently about this guy that got arrested for giving some change to a homeless dude while there's a restaurant around the corner throwing away all kinds of good food every night, and right up the street there's 100 vacant homes.
Yeah. Well, that brings me to my idea of a business I had about 10 years ago, which was going around getting a few trucks for the business, going around to all the different restaurants in a given city. You know, you start in one city and then grow out from there to different cities and towns. But going around to all the different restaurants in a given city and collecting all their food at the end of the night that they normally would have thrown in the trash, but was literally
It's like-
uneaten
Yeah,
food.
not spoiled
And
food.
not spoiled, not
served,
eaten.
just
It's just literally good food,
leftovers
edible
that were
food,
cooked.
completely edible food thrown into the trash. So my idea of a business was I guess it was more like it was going to be a nonprofit of going around and picking up all the food at the end of the night from all these places. But at first I had the idea of providing them with like to-go containers that they could fill up all the to-go containers at the end of the night. Because at first my idea was leftovers, like when people don't eat everything on their plate and they bring that back and throw that out. Well, why not just throw it in a to-go container and somebody
That
picks it up at
would
the end of the night?
be-
Exactly, that was a little bit weird.
Yeah.
But then I started especially after working in a restaurant, I realized that there's just a lot of leftover
There is so
food
much that
has
gets
yet to
thrown
been-
away
has never
that's
even been
still
touched.
good.
Exactly, cooked and completely edible and hasn't been touched. So I was like, how come we can't have them collect all that food for us in tubs or Tupperware containers or something, and we provide them with all that stuff. But we come around, pick it up at the end of the night or whenever all these places close or around the time all the places close. We go pick up all that food, bring it back to our warehouse or our facility, box it all up into like to-go containers, and then it would be like a soup kitchen where people could come in the morning and even the afternoon for lunch and stuff and get a fresh meal that was literally made the day before and is a fresh meal. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Just needs to be
They can
reheated.
get that fresh meal, and also using those 3 trucks that we go around and pick up the stuff, going around and if we see any homeless people dropping food off to them or giving them food, or literally have like meal drop off points at different parts of the city that homeless people know they can go to that meal drop off point at 9 a.m. and the truck's gonna arrive at 9:05 with a meal for them, you know, and they don't have to pay for that. So it's like, that was, to me, a genius idea, but there's like health code implications to
Yes.
that. And that's
That-
ridiculous. There's literally blocks.
Right now, you
blockages
know,
that
there's
we put
people
up on it.
thinking, oh, of course there's health code violations. But when you look at what the health code actually says and the reasons why, it's
The health code kind of makes sense, but when you really look at the grand scope, and we do this too much as the human race, when you look at the grand scope of the health code itself compared to the grand scope of the homelessness issue and starvation itself, it's a no-brainer. You feed these people. They're human beings. We don't say, oh, well, if you can't provide for yourself, that's your own problem. This food's going in the trash. If you want it, you can dig through the dumpster and try and get some, you know, but it's going to be sitting next to some rotten food that we threw out with it, and other people's
All
food that
kinds
they
of
ate, leftovers that they ate,
just
the
stuff.
bones of some ribs that people have been eating, you know, but
Yeah.
it's just the bones. It's like, why should anybody, why do we allow that as the human race? How do we allow there's a quote, I think, what is it? The mark of a great society is how it treats the lowest of its citizens. And I think there's nothing more true. And how do we treat the lowest of our citizens? The lowest of our citizens, and I'm not saying low as far as they're bad people or anything like that, but as far as their living conditions and the quality of life that they have, the lowest people, we treat them like trash. We treat them like they're no good. I'm surprised you haven't brought it up yet, but you think to maybe like depopulation, and we've been like almost brainwashed to just not care about them because it's part of the human race dying off, that
It's
the
very possible.
elite people who have all the money and can eat whatever they want whenever they want,
You are not to give them this food.
but they think of like evolution, and they're like,
Yeah.
only the strongest survive, and they're like, we gotta let these people die off, we gotta let them starve, and it's like, where are we? Like,
Yeah.
okay, on the last episode we talked about maybe there's like UFOs or aliens that are like in the government and running it. Okay, maybe what if that's not the case, but there's aliens watching our planet, which I think is pretty obviously true. No matter what, aliens are watching our planet for whatever reason, I don't know. But maybe the reason that there hasn't been a mass communication with us or any kind of actual mass
Because we're behaving
interaction
like
with us.
savages instead of intelligent beings?
Exactly. They watched, like, hold on, how come there's a human being in that building right there, laying on the couch eating a giant cheeseburger, and there's literally 100 feet from him on the other side of the wall, digging through a dumpster, somebody trying to find just one scrap of food because that person, and they can see their vital signs and see that they haven't eaten a square meal in a week, and have only been eating have only found a few scraps in the past week. So they're literally almost starving. And this guy's sitting here with his cheeseburger with his feet up. And then all of a sudden they see the same guy get up after he's eaten his cheeseburger, walk outside to go jump in his car so he can go to the club or something, and he walks right past the guy who's digging through the dumpster and yells at the guy for digging through his dumpster and says,
Yeah.
"You need to get out of here, dude. I don't know what you're doing, but I'm going to call the cops. You're going through my private stuff." And doesn't care that the guy has nothing to eat. He's mad because he's in his dumpster, but doesn't care that the guy has nothing to eat. And like an alien race might see all that kind of, and those kind of interactions happen every single day, if not thousands, or if not millions, thousands of times, every single day. That those kind of interactions, those kind of events happen, and an alien race watching would be like, really? Why would we? They're not civilized. They act civilized. They've advanced technologically somewhat in the past 100 or 200 years, but they're not civilized. Mentally, they've gone backwards. You know, they're moving backwards. You know?
Sad, isn't it?
Yeah. But the fact that we allow it to happen, you know, you can say, oh, it's brainwashing and it's just the distractions of TV and this and that, and it's like, I think it's people who've become disconnected with their own identity
Humanity.
as a human being.
Yeah.
Exactly. They don't look at themselves as a human. People don't look at themselves as a human being anymore, or all of us as human beings anymore. They look at each other as, well, I'm white and he's black, or I'm Christian and he's Muslim, or he's Islam. You know what I'm saying? I have, he has glasses, I don't. You know what I'm saying? Like, and people like you want to group yourself so you're not a part of everybody else. You're not one with. So it's so much easier to walk by somebody and somebody who has nothing and is standing there with a cup looking for change, and literally you can tell they have like raggedy clothes on. It's like you can tell they're dirty. Like they've been through a lot of stuff, right? You know what I'm saying? It's like, but somebody who makes $1 million a year can walk past that person, and it's gotten to the point where the person who makes $1 million a year can just walk past them and say, I don't care. You know what I'm saying? Like they did that to themselves. The difference between me and that person,
and then right behind,
I'm a hard worker. They're not. They put themselves in that position. I would never.
Which may not be true.
Exactly.
But here's the kicker. Right behind him comes a cop, and he walks up to that guy and says, "You can't be sitting here. I'm going to arrest you."
Yeah. So then, okay, here we'll go from that to the guy. The homeless guy gets up and says, "All right, just leave me alone. Just leave me alone." And he walks 7 blocks down to the park that's down the street. And he's sitting at the park on the bench, and the cop pulls up, and the cop's watching him, and the cop's just like, all right, there's nobody around, he's not bothering anybody, but I don't like this guy, there's something up with this guy, because that's just how so many people, not just cops, so many people in general treat homeless people. Like, I don't want you hanging around, you're up to something.
Dude, nowadays,
dirty,
that's how people just treat people in general. If it's someone you're not, like, really close with, it's like, what's this guy doing walking up to my door?
Well, it's like, also the class system, you know what I'm saying? It's like how upper classes look at any lower classes in a certain way, and almost all of society is going to look at the lower class, the lowest class, because they're below them no matter what, and look at them in disgust. How every other higher class looks at the lower class in disgust. They're going to do the exact same thing. So I don't know.
Actually,
hold on, ready? Look, the homeless guy. He walks down to the park, right? Cops watching him. Cops keeping an eye on him. Because he's like, I don't know what's up with this dude, you know. I haven't seen this homeless guy in this part of town before. I saw him before 6 months ago at another part of town, but I thought he was gone and left town. Now he's back and he's sitting in our park, you know. He was sitting in front of the bank before begging for change. I told him to get out of here because the bank doesn't want that. The bank only doesn't want to encourage people coming out of the bank for a homeless guy to be given money from people coming out the bank. That's wrong in the bank's eyes. So they call the cops. Cop comes out. He doesn't like the homeless guy. He tells the homeless guy to get out of there. Homeless guy goes 6 blocks. Don't love how I think of all this. Homeless guy goes 6 blocks, even though you thought of some of it. Sorry, but I'm continuing. Homeless guy goes 6 blocks down the road, sits at the park. The cop's watching him at the park. What happens? 2 elderly people pull up at the park because they wanted to take a walk in the park and enjoy the weather, right? To a man and wife, a couple, right? They pull up and they actually brought picnic food for the day. They had sandwiches that they had prepared in a Ziploc bag. And they literally were getting out of their car, saw the homeless man sitting on the bench, saw that he had his cup of change, but he was tired. You could tell he was tired. It wasn't that they didn't honestly know if he was on drugs or not, but they wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt that maybe he's hungry. He's obviously homeless. Maybe he's hungry. So they walk up to this guy. They see the cop in the parking lot. They don't realize the cop's hawking. They got a hawk eye on the homeless guy, but they see the cop in the parking lot. They're not worried about the cop in the parking lot. They're 2 elderly people going for a walk in the park. Who cares? But they see the homeless guy and they're like, "Let's grab one of our sandwiches. You know, you want to split a sandwich so we can give him one of our sandwiches?" And they say, "Yeah, let's do that. That's a very nice thing to do." So they walk up to the homeless guy and they hand him a sandwich. Cop gets out of his car, you know, walks over, puts his hand on his gun. "Excuse me, ma'am, I need you to turn around right now, or come over to me right now." You know, he's got his whole thing going on. What did you just do there? I gave the man a sandwich. He looked very hungry. "Excuse me, ma'am, I'm going to need you to turn around, put your hands behind your back. You have the right to remain silent." Like, wait, what? Like, that's where we're at? There's something
in
wrong
several
with that.
cities across America.
Exactly. The fact that is the truth, that can happen in this country. And those people are only trying to help. They're only trying to help a fellow human being. They're not grouping themselves and saying, well, I'm better than that person. That's what irks me so much, is so many people look at homeless people as they put themselves in that position. They did it to themselves. Well, it's not always that case. That's not always the case. We're like so many people, and that's what irks me, is because so many people who are the financial...
Not even just homeless people, just nowadays it's like trying to help anybody, even if, you know, it's just someone who's having a bad week or whatever, or a bad situation. It's like, no, you can't,
Well,
no, you shouldn't do that. You
I think that's like a
get
s-
involved.
I
You
think
shouldn't
that's a
get involved.
social
That's
faux
not
pas.
your problem.
That's become like a social faux pas, exactly. But luckily, we're not at a point where there's laws against doing that. You know what I'm saying?
It may come soon
but
if
there
there's
are-
laws against
there are
helping a homeless
definitely-
man on the corner.
There are definitely still communities out there where people are willing to help, and there's actually good people out there, and you're willing to help each other. And it's and something I know it's becoming a social faux pas, but there's also people like me and you who are pushing back against that social faux pas and trying to make people understand that that's completely wrong. That social faux pas.
Yeah, some people don't have agendas or anything. They just want to see humanity succeed instead of tank.
Yep. What is
We
this?
can't help it. We were,
Well,
I guess we were born with something, what do you call it?
I don't know. There's a movie or a documentary online. This will really help. It ties into what we're saying right here. A documentary. I can't remember the kid's name. It was Joe something. I think like Joe Palmer or Joe something. I can't remember his name. Such a good documentary. Basically, if anybody knows the name of the documentary and could comment on the video or our Facebook page, that would be awesome. I'll try and find it. He basically traveled across. Actually, I think the documentary is called like Joe something, Joe Traveler or something like that. Right? He basically traveled from Los Angeles to New York. Craigslist Joe. That's the name of the movie. He traveled from Los Angeles to New York, back to Los Angeles, all using Craigslist. He had a cameraman with him, and I think $100 to get to Los Angeles and back, and all using Craigslist, like ride shares on Craigslist, staying with people he met on Craigslist. And it's like you think of that as like that's dangerous. You're gonna get yourself murdered. Like there's people who murder people using Craigslist, and there's people who rape people using Craigslist. There's people who rob people using Craigslist. It's like, what are you, insane? And it's like, but if you have that mentality of you can't trust it, you can't trust the world, and that's like the social, that's becoming the social norm is you can't trust the world. When you have that mentality, that's what you're gonna get. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying, oh yeah, if you have that mentality and you go and use Craigslist, the person you meet up with is going to murder you or rape you. No, that's not what I'm trying to say.
No, I get what
but
you're saying.
that's the world we're going to get.
Yeah.
And that's the world we're going to continue to get if people have that mentality that that's the truth. When you have the mentality that
Because
there's
it'll
people
get
out there
to a
that can
point.
help.
Yeah, it'll get to a point where they're the only
keeps
people
that
that are
alive.
on Craigslist, because
Yes.
everyone else will be afraid of
But
Craigslist.
basically, this dude used Craigslist to get from Los Angeles to New York back to Los Angeles, and all in about, I think, 2 or 3 weeks, maybe a month. And the movie like makes you cry a few times because it makes you realize, like literally, I think there was an Iraqi family that took him in, an Iraqi family that had come over after the first Gulf War and like started living in America, but they still lived very much like, if you've ever known anybody like truly Muslim, they still live that way, you know what I'm saying? They you come into their house, they have their shoes off, you know what I'm saying? They pray once a day, or they pray like towards Mecca or whatever once a day. It's like they were still that kind of family, right? And you would think like they'd be like, especially with the whole George Bush, that was during we were still in Iraq at the time he was filming this thing. These people welcomed this dude in. Who cares that he was just a white dude? He was a dude that needed help. You know what I'm saying? A Jewish family took him in. It's like all these different varieties of people that helped him out. It was just like, it was mind-blowing to see that people still wanted to help other people. You know what I'm saying? But it really hurts because even some of those people, I bet you, I'm not saying definitely for sure I know this, but I bet you some of those people that helped him out wouldn't be so likely or haven't done when had the opportunity, haven't helped any homeless people or really done anything to help any homeless people. Or some people say, oh, well, don't give them money because they're going to go buy booze or whatever. And it's like,
Maybe they're not.
Well, I always put it this way. Like, if your life is to that point and you've tried finding a job, but you can't even get a shower on a regular basis because you have nowhere to live, you know what I'm saying? So you stink a little bit sometimes, or your clothes are a little bit dirty, you have trouble being able to wash your clothes, you have trouble really even eating, you're struggling to live. If you've drank in the past and found some sort of solace in it when your life wasn't like totally falling apart, don't you think maybe? Yeah, of course a lot of people would say, well, don't you think you would want to think about getting your life back on track? It's like, well, don't you think some days, maybe not every day, but some days you might be like, I need a bottle of liquor or something. I just need I
you'll be
can't stop
depressed.
thinking about exactly. You're depressed. I can't stop thinking about where my life is at right now. I want to drink. You know what I'm saying? Or somebody, they get a drug habit because they're around that, and to themselves they're like, my life. What's the point? My life is completely falling apart already. What's the point? And at least this will let me zone out and not care about it anymore or something. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, it sounds like the messed up way to go. Just like suicide sounds like that's the coward's way to go or something. But it's not always the truth. You know what I'm saying? We like to just make these assumptions about people and completely ignore what could actually be the truth about these people. So many homeless people are not drug addicts, are not alcoholics, or never were. And when they became homeless, like, that was all they had. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't say that's all they had, but they got in with a group of people who were drinkers. And they didn't have any, nobody else wanted to even hang out with them. You know, he became a homeless person. All his old friends are like, leave me alone. You're always wanting to ask if you can sleep on my couch and stuff. Like, you're a homeless person, you find these other homeless people where they want to be your friend, but they all drink every night. And you know, they're having a blast doing it. I didn't really ever drink in the past, but I'm going to start drinking. Next thing you know, you're drinking every night. And people that see it are like, oh, you know, I'm going to give him money. Look, he's drinking. I'm not giving him no money. He's going to go get another beer. And it's like, you don't realize that maybe this was not just like an overnight thing, or maybe he wasn't always this way. It's like, give some people some credit and like be human. Think of your, like, nobody ever likes to put themselves in that position and think like, how would I have gotten into that position? How could that have possibly happened to me? And what would I really like somebody to do for me? What would I really like? First, would I love first? I think I would really like for somebody to give me another chance. Even if there's a 90% guarantee I'm gonna mess it up, I would love for somebody to at least give me another chance, so I at least know that all of humanity hasn't given up on me, and maybe I should just go jump off the bridge or something.
Yeah.
It's like,
Here's a story for you. I used to work at a Wawa doing overnights, a convenience store in New Jersey, Pennsylvania.
I think people know about Wawa, unless you're from California.
Hey, we did have a
or
light
Mexico.
from Afghanistan or Pakistan or wherever that was that day, so we might have international viewers. Got to make it clear.
Okay.
So
Convenience
I'm
slash
working.
gas station.
Yeah, I'm working. This one was getting at the gas station. I'm working the overnight, and in that town, there's a McDonald's right across from it. There was this homeless guy in the town. He lived in the park. Everybody called him Alex.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't his real name, but that's what everybody called him. And he couldn't. Same situation you're describing. He really had nowhere to go to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Every now and then he would do like yard work for this guy that lived in town. He'd give him a few bucks. He could stay in a hotel room and get a shower for the night.
Mm-hmm.
The McDonald's in that town, actually, the guy who owned it, well, not the owner, the manager, started seeing him like rifling through the dumpster and whatnot. Hey, come here, you know, if you want to kind of like do some janitor work for us, clean up the parking lot, I'll give you a meal every day, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, he was able to, for doing that, he got his foot in the door, and the owner found out what the manager did and actually gave the guy a job.
Yeah. Well, sometimes.
So that was a pretty cool story there.
It's more than a cool story, and I really wish there were more stories like that out there where people are given a second chance.
It's the Cinnamons and McDonald's, believe it or not.
Yeah, it's really, it's sad because it doesn't happen more often.
Like
Or even
I'll admit this now because I don't work for Wawa anymore. He would come in on the overnights. I'd be giving him free sandwiches, free crap. Sometimes I'd pay for it, sometimes I wouldn't.
I
Like
think that in a nutshell, that's a big problem with
all those hot dogs that we were going to throw away that we were talking about earlier. It's
Yeah. Well, that's a big problem with the human race. I think where we've gotten to as a human race is that we've now allowed the bottom line to take over. And if you know what I'm talking about, bottom line's like a business term as far as your profits and your losses and making money, and you need to be making money or you're not going to succeed. And what's the point of you doing business if you're not going to succeed? And we've allowed that mindset to permeate its way through our culture and our society, and allow us to look at homeless people the way that we do. You know what I'm saying? And allow us to treat homeless people the way that we do. You know what I'm saying? It's not like we treat homeless people like crap, and people are always throwing stuff at homeless people or cursing them out or anything like that.
in some places that is
Well,
happening.
some places that does happen, but in general it doesn't really happen that often. the more the problem is, well, especially with homeless people that keep to themselves, that really doesn't ever happen, right? And there's a lot of homeless people that don't keep to themselves because they're looking for somebody to help them out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's a percentage game to them, especially in a city. It's a percentage game to them. It's not like, oh, well, I'll look for the right person or this or that. It's, I look for the right person or this or that, I'm ending up at the end of the night with nothing to eat. You know what I'm saying? If I ask almost every single person that passes me by, there's a percentage chance that somebody's going to help me out. You know, so, the way I've always looked at that, especially when I'm in the city, is if I walk past somebody and they're asking me for money, and they say, I hear them asking me for money, and they say, man, I just need something to eat, man, I just need something to eat. I say, all right, I'll be right back. And I go to the nearest McDonald's or the nearest Burger King or something, I get them two like $1 cheeseburgers or something, and I come back and hand them $1 cheeseburgers. And you know immediately whether or not they're out there hustling for money or not. And it's like a 50-50 thing. It's really sad there are like professional, I hate to say professional hobos, but
Yeah,
professional
there are.
people who take it, professional panhandlers. There are professional panhandlers out there, and that's sad because they really.
I forget what network it was. Someone did an expose on that where they were recording this woman begging for change all these days, and then someone followed her with a camera, saw her
Oh,
walk
yeah,
like
yeah,
3
that was
blocks away,
recent.
getting
Yeah,
like a
nice
fancy
car,
car,
yeah.
drive to her apartment.
Yeah. Well, there was also a news story on it back in the early 2000s about. I think it was a news story about professional panhandlers, but there was one guy on there who in Washington D.C. at 5 days a week he would go out into the corners on different corners in Washington D.C. and beg for money.
And if you know Washington D.C., there's about 100 people on every single corner. It's really sad
well, he would go
to drive through D.C.
Well, no, he wasn't going to the bad part of D.C. He was going to uptown D.C. He was going to
Georgetown area.
he was going to the Capitol.
Ooh.
He was going to the Capitol area and stuff.
Oh,
He
people
wasn't
have money
sitting
there.
in front of the White House, but he was in the busy area of the Capitol, in the political center of the Capitol. So they basically found out that, or he basically admitted and counted and totaled it all up, that he makes about, I think he said 150 grand a year.
Whew.
He drives a Mercedes Benz, like all that, and they showed him. And it's not like the whole thing was about him. It's more about the professional panhandlers and that it's wrong that they do. But they showed him as an example for like a few minutes, and they showed him basically getting up, walking, like the camera like was across the street. They saw him. Got up, walked like 3 or 4 blocks down the road, made a right turn, like then walked down an alley or whatever. Got in his car, took off all the stuff, and then they saw him like driving out the alley, like in a t-shirt or something, but like not looking like a homeless guy in his Mercedes Benz.
Yeah.
Just like, all right, done working for the day. Like that's the
that's
look
his
he had
job,
on his
yeah.
face was, all right, done working for the day. You know what I'm saying? He's got his $600-700 in his pocket or something that he made all day. Like that's insane.
Tax free.
That's insane. That's taking advantage of people that are genuinely trying to help,
And that's what paints
reducing
the
the
bad
amount of
picture.
people exactly that in turn.
Because you
reduces
never
the
know
amount of
whether
people
this
that
is
are
someone in need or someone who's doing that.
Yeah.
Apparently, that I forget the details. I wish I could remember it. That woman that they said she really was convincing. She was there every day. She looked all ragged and.
Well, see, that's the thing. It's not really hard to do.
I know.
It's wrong to
It
do.
is.
It's wrong to do. But it's like.
But then she made the news, and after that,
Well,
I'm
it's
pretty
wrong
sure
to
she
do,
didn't
but
go
there's
back
a
to
lot
it.
of things, and it's like people sometimes think something like that is okay to do because there's a lot of wrong things that people in power get away with, and if they can get away with it and it's obviously morally wrong, then well, why can't I do something to, on a smaller scale that everybody doesn't have to know about, but why can't I, you know what I'm saying? Why can't I sit on the side of the road and with a sign that says my leg was blown off and I'll just sit on my leg in my wheelchair I borrowed from my grandma.
Oh yeah, people that
My
try to
son
impersonate
just
disabled
leave me
veterans or pose as disabled veterans, that is probably one of the worst because
It's all
people who lost body parts defending this country, how can you take that away from them and sit
Well,
out there and try to
it's
cut
it's
into
the whole
their-
mindset.
they-
dude. It's like
need all the help they can get if you
the
know
whole
how
drinking
the
partying
VA treats
mindset.
veterans.
I've had, trust me, I've had plenty of partying and drinking in my life, right? But the whole drinking and partying mindset, I think, is also part of the reason that we're literally like not giving two dams or not giving a hoot that all of this is going on, because sometimes like if we start thinking about it too much, well, there's a party coming up, or I'm going out with my friends today. and I'm
Well, my
drinking
plans
and
aren't
I don't care
canceled, so
about-
I don't
but,
care.
right, I think about ties into all of this. I think about the chick that was at an Eagles game and ran up to, there's a homeless veteran that sits outside of Eagles games or sits outside of the parking lot of Eagles games, and he's got a prosthetic leg, right? And he sits outside of the Eagles games with a megaphone, like singing the Eagles chant, and with like a cup, hoping that people give him some money, right? And this drunk girl who was tailgating ran up to him, like gave him a big hug, took like a selfie with him, and when he finally was like, all right, you need to get off me, you need to leave me alone, like, please, like, just leave me alone. She, I think, like, can't remember what she did, like, she distracted him or something, like, or one of her friends distracted him, and while he was looking away, she grabbed his prosthetic leg that he didn't have attached onto him, he had it, like, sitting up against his wheelchair or something. She grabbed the prosthetic leg and ran away, and didn't come back with it. She ran away and like took it home with her or something. They found it on the Philly SEPTA subway.
What?
They found it on the subway.
I
in
didn't
Philly.
hear this story.
Yeah,
This is...
but it's like that. How is there not outrage? That I'm sure there's outrage, like her maybe between her personal friends or her. I'm sure maybe they're not her personal friends. Some people maybe just said you need to like drop it. You need to drop it before you get yourself arrested. Like cops are gonna end up looking for.
I'd
you
like
if
to
you
believe
stole
that
somebody's leg.
somebody she knows put her to shame for that.
I'm sure there were people she knows that were outraged. But as far as the whole entire thing, I heard about it for a day or two and then it was forgotten about. And it's like, why? Why do we allow people to do this kind of stuff?
Because Kim Kardashian's ass, man. That's more important. We gotta talk about that instead.
It's just sad. And then the people that are like shamed publicly are people who, like Ron Paul's been shamed publicly so many times, like by mainstream news and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
I don't call that real shame because
that's
you
not
can't
real
believe
shame,
the
but
mainstream
no. The
news.
thing is, the problem with that is not everybody believes what you just said.
True.
You can't believe the mainstream news. There's literally half.
Look
of the
up
popula-
Operation Mockingbird. I discussed it on Sunday.
Yeah, there's literally half the population that doesn't believe that. You know, half the population believes if it's on mainstream news, it's true. So when they shame somebody like Ron Paul, and Ron Paul's got good values and this and that,
And
when
he's
they
just
say,
trying to
oh,
help
Ron
people.
Paul's foreign policy is cuckoo, he's a crazy old man, like what, really, you want to cut the military down by 90% or 10% each year till it's down 90%? What are you, insane? Like, we need that. Like, that's our protection from the terrorists and blah, blah. And it's like, they say that on
Yeah,
TV,
people
and
believe it.
people absorb it all, and they're like,
Oh yeah, we
Ron Paul does need to be shamed. He's such, and then like,
Why doesn't he want to protect us from the terrorists?
that's, and I know I'm comparing Ron Paul to this chick or whatever, this chick.
Yeah,
who's
no, I get it.
But it's like,
I get it.
The whole thing with the people they choose to shame, like they did shame her, or they trust me, that story was on the news. They shamed her, but past that, it was just forgotten about. There was nothing talked about past that. Like, what about the way we treat homeless people and the way that we are towards them? You know what I'm saying? I'm
Because
sure
it's easier just to arrest
I don't think
people for
homeless
helping.
guys' legs get stolen all the time. Their prosthetic legs get stolen all the time.
So that
But-
should have been a bigger story.
But what I'm saying is, how many times are homeless people, maybe even disabled homeless people, harassed and bothered by drunk citizens walking home from the bars, in cities I'm talking about, walking home from the bar, or walking home, or walking around or some shit. How many times are they harassed and
It's probably every
is
night
it
in
ever
every major
reported?
city.
Nobody even in those neighborhoods probably even reports it because they don't really even care about the homeless people that are in those neighborhoods. They want them out. Exactly. They're like cockroaches to them, and that's disgusting.
It's like they don't even want them in a house. They
That's
just want them
disgusting.
gone.
And when I think about something like that,
That South Park
we
episode.
need to wrap up the show. But when I think about something like that, right, I really honestly think about the cycle of the planet Earth and how I believe that civilizations have risen and then destroyed themselves and everything went back to like almost ashes, back to starting over. Civilization rose, destroyed itself. I think there was a civilization literally before the dinosaurs, and like geologists and true scientists would probably like wholeheartedly disagree with me. But I believe for this planet's probably been here for like 1 million or 2 million years, or maybe some form of this planet has been here for 1 million or 2 million years. Maybe it's changed or geologically changed over time, right? But I basically, when I think about that, what we were just talking about is, I think that we're doomed to start over. Like, if
History
there's any
repeats
kind of
itself.
intelligent design, and that intelligent design has placed us on Earth, the humanity on Earth, to get it right, we're not getting it right, dude. We're getting to the point, especially in the next 20 or 30 years, where there's no turning back and getting everything right and righting all the wrongs. It's going to need to be restarted, reset, the Great Flood. You know what I'm saying? It's going to a comet hitting Earth, something like that. It's going to need to be reset. If there's intelligent design, we're not evolving as a human. The human soul and the human spirit.
Evolving.
The human soul and the human spirit. Its instinct is to evolve. All right. The human brain and the human body have not been evolving; they've been devolving, or maybe the body has been evolving little bit by little bit. But our brains and our minds and our social structures and all that have been devolving, and we're destroying ourselves, destroying the planet. We don't care about ourselves. We don't care about each other. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's only bound to just all get blown up and start it over. You know, it's all like. If there's a big man upstairs, he might just be hitting that reset button one day because it's like, there's no point.
Okay,
especially even if this is a simulation. Think about this as a simulation. When you think of simulation theory, which we got to get into one day on the show, but if this were a simulation, don't you think it might be fun for a while to watch the civilization do everything ass backwards and upside down, you know what I'm saying? And like, do you see that guy? He walked past another dude who looks almost exactly like him and was eating a cheeseburger while that guy, he could tell, was starving and didn't have anything to eat. And that guy was even asking for a bite to eat or just something to help him out. And he didn't even care. Like in a simulation, there might be people sitting there laughing at it. Yeah. But after a certain amount of time, it's just like,
wow, this is pathetic.
Yeah, it's like, all right.
They haven't figured it out yet?
All right, like, am I going to literally sit here and watch them, like, degrade down to nothing and completely destroy themselves? Or am I going to restart and maybe hope to see them evolve into something better and, like, get to a Star Trek point of view, you know what I'm saying? A Star Trek utopia, even though Star Trek is
there's a plan for
one
that.
world government and all that, I know, trust me.
Agenda 21, man!
If you're the big man upstairs and you got that giant reset button sitting in front of you, you're looking at Agenda 21, you're looking at all those plans and you're like, is that a joke?
Is really? This is what they want to do?
Did you write that up on a napkin at the bar last night? Like, are you serious? No. Was that written on your hand and then got smeared by your sweat? I'm not interested. You know what I'm saying? Reset. That's where that's that. Or maybe that's the reason he hasn't hit reset yet. Because he's like, I see you trying. That's obviously not the right way to go. But if you're trying, maybe that means somebody else will try a different way. Exactly. And everybody will latch on to that different way. Because they're not latching on to that way right now.
Well, some of them are. That's the sad
thing. Maybe there's still hope that a different one.
A lot of them are
implementing it completely.
Australia is pretty far along.
All right. On that note, I think we should wrap up the show. This was a really awesome first Wednesday show.
Yes,
we'll be around. You can catch us on Sunday, 8 o'clock.
And if you see someone sitting on the corner, don't judge a book by its cover.
No.
I guess is what we can do.
No. And you know what?
And if you're a cop watching, don't arrest someone for giving a dude change.
Use your soul. Don't always just use your brain.
Think from here, not here.
No, you do have to think from here because sometimes if you just use your soul, you can walk into a situation where the person is going to follow you for the next 3 hours because they think that you're the person that's going to buy them a meal, buy them a pack of smokes, buy them a couple beers, this and that. Like, trust me, I've had that. Like, I used to be the person that every single person I met, I was very, very, very nice. I'm still trying to be very nice to everybody I meet. But I used to be the person where I was very nice, very trusting, and almost very naive with every single person I met. So I would come across people every now and then that would latch on to me and think that, well, I'm gonna ride this dude for all I can. You know what I'm saying? If he's very nice, like there's some stuff I need. You know, they're thinking that in their head, and those people start riding you. And it's not always obvious from the get-go, or even like in the middle of it, that that person is trying to take advantage of you. But you tend to realize like that person is nobody to you. Yeah, it is another human being, and you want to help other human beings and stuff. But when that person is nobody to you and starts following you around and starts asking you to buy them a pack of smokes and we should hang out more and this and that, and it's just like, no, you're just a stranger to me. I wasn't being nice, so you can all of a sudden be my best friend, and I start buying you this and buying you that, or you know what I'm saying? And it's like it never works the other way around. Nobody ever says, "Hey, what's going on? How you doing? Hey, well, I got 500 grand," unless you're like a supermodel or something, and it's some like little nerdy dude like, "Hey, how you doing? I got 500 grand. Do you think maybe we could maybe go to the Cayman Islands together tonight, you know, that is a different situation. But it never works that way, you know? So, I don't know.
Cayman Islands, huh? Tonight.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's a
where I was
spur of the
going.
moment trip right there.
My mind literally just went on a little
Well, I don't know.
tornado that floated
I
out
guess
my
in
head.
theory, if you have that much money, you could do that spur of the moment, I guess.
Yeah, I
If
don't
you
know.
had that to just blow it.
What I
right
was
at
trying
you.
to say is use your brain and use your heart. Too many people just use their brain. You know, if you just use your heart, you could end up getting actually attacked.
I think
I'm saying
that's-
people could follow you, but you could actually end up getting attacked where somebody's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, this person has money. I just saw them whip out $2 to give me, but I
But
saw
I think
$63 in their
it's-
wallet or a couple hundreds in there. I'm gonna follow them and attack them the first chance that I get because I know I can kick this dude's ass. Be conscious. If the person can kick your ass, they're 3 times your size, and he's sitting there looking angry, not looking sad, not looking like he's hungry, looking angry, like he just got into an argument.
or just
Yeah,
got out of
maybe
prison, or-
and he's looking at you like he wants to talk to you. Maybe it's just a smarter thing to walk by. Your soul is gonna say, well, he wants somebody to talk to. You know, he's not having a good day. He wants somebody to talk to, and maybe he needs a couple of bucks. Whereas your mind is saying he might jack me up and take all my money, and he's not really a friendly, nice guy. I've come into that where, trust me, I try and talk to any homeless person, especially anybody who seems like they have home issues, let's just say, like home issues whereas they don't have one, or they don't have anywhere to stay. Anytime I come across those people, I try and be very nice to them. I try and hear their story and talk to them, but it probably 20% of the time when I talk to somebody who's homeless or is in that situation, is obviously in that situation, they're looking to try and get as much as they can out of me. It's not about like, hey, thank you for genuinely helping me out, or thank you for talking to me. You know,
It's like,
nobody
what
ever
more
talks
can
to
you
me.
do? What else do you
Yeah, but it's always money. It's always like, hey man, like, or they'll talk to you for 15 or 20 minutes and be like real nice, and it's like, you're like, oh wow, this person is just a nice person, and then literally out of nowhere, it's just like, hey man, I gotta catch this train, man, and it's I literally I had 50 cents and I dropped it and I couldn't find the 1/4, man, but the train is like $5.50, and I really like, do you maybe like got 5.50? Nah, man, I only got a 10. I'm sorry, I only got a 10 on me, and I kind of need that for my train or something, right? Oh, well, how about you give me the 10 and I'll go break it and I'll bring you back $4.
Yeah, that's my
and I'm
favorite
like,
trick.
I'm like, wait,
I love
what?
when they say
Like,
that.
hold on, no, like I just told you I need the 10 for my train. And he's like, well, can't we find a way to like split it or something? And I'm like, I had just met this dude like 15
Yeah.
minutes ago. He was being nice, like trying to talk to me and this and that. I kind of like sensed something was up. I thought he was going to get ready to like rob me or attack me because he seemed like there was a tension in the air that there was something he was waiting to do or to say. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes when you're talking to a stranger, you can sense that tension in the air
Yeah.
that they're waiting to say something to you, or they're trying to find the courage to say something, or this or that. Well, when he had the courage to say whatever it was, I thought it was either going to be he was going to like attack me. But I was in a very public place, so I was like, I wasn't freaking out or anything. I wasn't like, I need to get away from this guy. I was just like, if he's talking, I'm talking. Like, I can feel that tension, but it's probably he's going to ask for money. And what happened 15, 20 minutes later? Dude asked for money. And that's happened like plenty of times. That's happened out of maybe the 100
situations
people I've
like
talked
that.
to, maybe 10 of them have been like that, where it always comes back to, well, can you give me like, you got like maybe $20 that I could get? Like, they establish to try and act like they're your friend.
When it goes to,
Okay,
I'm more likely, when I see somebody that looks down and out and just spare some change or something like that, I'm more likely to give it to them than the ones that sit there and talk to you for 20 minutes and feed
well,
you
see,
their
that's the con
backstory.
man.
Because that's when you know, wait, he's telling me too
That's the
much.
con
Why
man.
is this guy
That's the
opening
guy
up
who's
and telling me all this?
living with his girlfriend in his girlfriend's mom's attic, right? Living with his girlfriend in his girlfriend's mom's attic, goes out, gets drunk with his boys every fucking afternoon. Once he sobers up a little bit, heads out and sits on a curb or waits to find some, like a businessman or somebody who looks like they might have a few bucks to try and strike up a conversation and talk to him, and then see if maybe he can borrow $10 off him, or say, hey, you got $5? Oh, I'll go get change for you or something. And it's
Yeah.
like trying to find that trusting person and take advantage of them, take their money. And it's like, if you use your brain and your heart, or you use your brain and your soul, you can see right through it. And you can
Sometimes it is somebody who's looking to go buy
You know
a
what I
bag
do?
of dope or
Do you
a
know what I do?
bottle, but not always.
If I see somebody and it looks like they truly, genuinely need help, I'll either go get them food, but if like if I can sense from them they're not interested in like begging for money or anything like that. They're just, I can see that they're just in their head. They're stuck in their head like, this sucks. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're not thinking like, okay, well, I gotta ask people for food, or I gotta ask people for money, or I'm not gonna survive. They're thinking like, this sucks. Like, life just sucks. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're contemplating how bad their life sucks. They're not thinking about, like, well, time to get some money. Time to get some, I want to get drunk tonight, so, you know, I'm going to get some money. They're thinking about how much it literally sucks. That's the type of person where I'm like, I want to give that person $5 or $10 and go buy them something to eat. Where if I see somebody who's sitting down and they got their cup out and they're asking for money, but they're not like, please, sir, hey, sir, please, can you help me out? Hey, please, sir. But they're sitting there with their cup and it's pretty obvious they're homeless, but they're not like, they're not trying to be real beggy and this and that.
Yeah.
That's the person where I might give them like $1 or $2 and then go get them a sandwich because I know that sandwich could really help them, you know what I'm saying? But if it's somebody who's like in my face, this and that, and like, hey, do you think you can spare some change? Hey, do you think you can spare $1 or something? I reach in my pocket. Any change I have in there, I just grab whatever. When I reach in my pocket, I do that with some of my change. I usually don't grab it all, so I have a little bit left.
I'm the same way.
I grab just a handful of my change because I usually have a nice load of change here. Grab a handful of change and I'll drop it in their thing or say here you go. Or like, hey, do you have maybe $1 for me? Do you have like a couple quarters? And I'll drop them that and they're like, oh my God, thank you. And it's like.
You can tell you just made his day.
Well, I did make his day, but you can tell it's like he really wanted that money. Whereas when like you see somebody who's truly like hard up and hurting, that's the person where you give them $5, $10 and they're like, thank you so much, and they're like, they almost look like they're ready to cry. They're not like, oh my God, thank you, I'm so glad. And it's like sometimes that gratefulness, that thank you, oh my God, thank you. That's blowing smoke up your ass. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? That's the person just trying to do.
I got you.
With it. Well, when somebody gives you something, you have to be grateful. You have to kiss their ass and oh my God, thank you so much. This and that. You know what I'm saying? And it's like it's all kind of an act. And those are the people that aren't technically even really homeless. They might not have a house. They might be staying with their girlfriend or something like that. But they're not even technically homeless. They're out there to get money. Or maybe they are homeless, but they're the homeless that's not interested in not being homeless. You know what I'm saying? They're the homeless that wants to get drunk that night. And but then again, we can't come back to that. I can't come back to say, oh, he's just a homeless that wants to get drunk tonight, because what did I say before? It's not always
like that.
It's not always like that. But there is a clear difference between people who are struggling.
But you still shouldn't pass laws to prevent people from helping.
No, you shouldn't. And you know what it comes down to? You can divvy it up, or you can mince. You can parse hairs all you want, or whatever the saying is. They're human beings. Yeah. So even if somebody is unless that person you truly feel that person is either going to attack you or rob you, you truly feel that way. Not that you think that that's a possibility or that could happen if that person's crazy or this or that. If you look at them and you can tell, like, I think I might just want to avoid that person because they seem angry, or they seem like they're gonna fly off the handle, or you know what I'm saying, like they're unstable. Maybe that's the person. If you don't feel comfortable, keep it moving. But too many people say, oh, it's possible that that person's just a crazy person. Or it's possible that person's just going to go buy alcohol and this and that and just keep walking. They're still human beings. Unless you think you're going to get attacked, unless you're worried about your own safety of being attacked by that person, or that person's robbing you or something like that, if it's plain as day, which it almost always is, if it's plain as day that that person's not going to attack you or rob you, help the fucking person out. Like, really? Help them out. We're human beings. Like, what are we doing for the human race?
But you have to be careful now, because you might get arrested. You might have to pay a fine, or you might have jail. You might have a record now. You don't want to risk that.
Like, kind of illegal, so they're justifying the social norm, but with laws. All right. So on that note, we're gonna end the show. Thank you for everybody joining us. We'll see you on Sunday at 8 o'clock.
We appreciate it. We'll
First Wednesday show was a blast. We'll see you on Sunday at 8 o'clock. You can find us on Facebook.com/3NN Podcast. You can email us at 3NN@outlook.com, or Brian3NN@hotmail.com. You can find us if you go to YouTube.com and you just search 3NN7, 3NN6, anything like that. Or you can search 3NN Podcast, 3NN Episode 7. If you want to find any of it, just search 3NN on YouTube or 3NN Podcast on Google, and you should find us.
And share with your friends.
Hey, share, like, do everything you got to do to get us on top of the world. Because you know what?
Like we just said, it's good to help people.
As we succeed, you succeed. Alright, so there's no time like the present, right? I don't know,
True
that's a,
that.
that's a good, good
That's-
ending thing. So,
No time like the present.
no time like the present. Because it's a present, right? You know what I'm saying?
It is.
Transamerica Ultra.
What?
It's all in Chinese. Wow, I got pretty close to that and I didn't even know what it was. Alright, everybody, have a great week. Thank you for joining
See you
us.
Sunday.
Alright. Now I'm so done. Oh my god, my brain hurts. Woo!
Hey, at least the camera's
hot in
still
here.
going.
Can't
That's
really
nice.
see now.
We didn't get to the dick minute.
But the, what do you call it? Battery's getting ready to die, isn't it?